This is like attempt number 6 at making this video, dude. Okay, what had happened was, my sister found this Minions game. There's one called Exploding Minions, and there was one called That's What She Said. There's like Apples to Apples, I guess, and or Cards Against Humanity, or something like that. And then there was Minions Operation, and we started off with Minions Operation, right? After I got off of work, we're just like, oh, let's test it out, let's see if it works. And we found out that the batteries were corroded, so we had to like make a special solution and clean it out really well. And like we're doing Operation on the game Operation, and we got it working, and so we're like, yeah, we gotta test it. So we start testing it, and I don't know whose brilliant idea it was, probably mine. We're like, oh, we should make this a drinking game. I don't know about you guys. I haven't drank in 2 years like that. I have had 1 to 3 beers at any given point in time, and that's it. So, shots. A bunch of shots happened because we made it so much harder than it had to be. We're like, okay, you can't use your dominant hand, and you can't stabilize your fingers on the board, and like the pieces can only go in backwards. And like we took the rules very seriously. Fucking hell, man. So, got pretty sloshed for the first time in a long, long time. And discovered some things, rediscovered some things. First of all, I'm a vibe. I have a great taste in music. I'm a fucking vibe. And I think sometimes I can forget that I am fun. I think sometimes I get stuck in serious mode. And I think I had to remember that. I think I had to remember to have fun. So there is that. But there was also, somebody should have taken my phone away, dude. Somebody should have taken my phone away. Because I got in some DMs. I basically messaged the King of Swords and was like, you should come to Maryland. And I had Priestess on the split there with the Lovers. Maybe it was meant to happen that way. Because, like, you don't really say things you don't mean when you're drinking. It just takes the filter away. You stop regulating what you will and won't say. You just say it all. So there's some of that. And I think we'll see what happens. But the filter was definitely not on my mouth. And I think my sister experienced some of that too. And I think that her and her Taylor are getting more serious. Knight of Pentacles. But I split to the Hierophant multiple times while I was making the previous renditions of this video. I think that is the direction it's headed. Hierophant energy. And I think that's all I'm supposed to say on it. But they've been together a little while now. Maybe it's time. Maybe they're getting more serious, and I think that would be cool. I would love to see her happy like that. But I wasn't expecting to find out in the way I did. Sometimes people don't say what they're actually feeling with their entire chest until they have that liquid courage. And I'm not saying that everybody should just like get drunk and say their feelings, but like every once in a while, maybe it's the breakthrough you need. I think normal people probably incorporate some kind of regret when they say something like that. Or in my situation where you're in somebody's DMs, they're like, oh shit, why'd I do that? I don't care. I'm not ashamed or embarrassed. But I am thinking about why. What happens next? And I think sometimes you don't validate your own emotions until you're in those situations where you're like, clearly I feel some kind of way. I think yesterday I probably wouldn't have admitted that to myself. But clearly I still feel things. But it's not just that. I also tracked down Jim Crush's TikTok again, and I actually watched the videos this time. What's worse, I liked and commented on a bunch of them. That's the part that I'm really shaking my head about. But I think some of them were genuinely just funny, and I liked them. But some of them were kind of difficult. Because I saw some that were like right after his accident. And you can imagine something like that, but it's different to actually see it. And I think that bothered me more than I thought it would. I didn't like to see him that way. And I mean, it's a great inspirational story and a huge turnaround and an absolute miracle that he's okay and that he's functional and thriving. And I found myself wondering, like, why doesn't he make TikToks anymore? That's what I was thinking about. And I thought, like, maybe I'll ask him, since, like, cat's out of the bag. I already liked and commented on a bunch of his shit. So if he checks his TikTok at all, he's going to know. He's going to know that I watched him. And I didn't for a long time. But we've got this polar extreme here of, like, I don't know, I was in this huge pullback. I feel like yesterday I was on the verge of discontinuing both of those situations, King of Swords and Jim Crush. And then I lose my filter for a couple hours. And suddenly I'm like, I want to say invested again. Or making progress with, breaking through. Maybe they were just attempts to do that. Because who can measure success, right? Who knows how successful those attempts actually were at connection. But there are things I think we're supposed to take from this. I think I was supposed to understand the reality of Jim Crush's accident and what that was like for him. And I think it was time that I saw his content after, at least a month of intentionally not watching it. I think I was supposed to open that dialogue with King of Swords and tell him what I wanted, what I was feeling, and what I thought was supposed to be happening. What I felt like Spirit was telling me was supposed to be happening. Outside of any kind of relationship context. And I learned exactly how my sister's feeling, which she may not have been bold enough to say before. It's all very interesting how it's coming out. Everything happens for a reason. Even these nights.